And I thought that freedom was like financial freedom, time freedom. But then what's shown to me is that I could have freedom despite not essentially having those outward, accolades, the 10 million bucks in the bank, the being able to just have passive income, which, is the myth as well.
David F. Haas is a transformative coach for high-achieving men seeking deeper fulfillment. David's approach is direct and uncompromising, aimed at breaking through what holds you back.
The more I get connected, the more creative I become. The more creative I become, the more money I make. And I was at this point in my life where I had, let's call it freedom from the outside looking in, even though I wasn't feeling free from within. So you can have freedom working a 9 to 5. You can have freedom before you have an unlimited amount of money in the bank account. And it's all about recognizing why you don't have freedom right now. And this is how we experience internal freedom from within. It's by eliminating what the mind is telling us on a regular basis, by getting to the root of why we need freedom. You're listening to the David F. Haas podcast. And in this podcast, I am going to go into a 5-part series. We're going to do a 5-part series on the good life. There's a recognition in the work that I do that basically I need to start promoting or showing people that I am living the good life, despite not having like everything, not having the money and the cars and all of that stuff. I'm still living the good life. And what is the good life? And what I've done is I've uncovered these 5 things that I think are required to live the good life. And I'm going to go through them in a 5-part series. And so today is part 1, which is freedom. And I think this is probably the thing that most people are after when they think about the good life. The reason they went to start their own business, they wanted to do their own thing because they wanted that freedom. People don't like to be constrained by having to be in an office. And this is probably where I was stuck myself for the better part of my life, thinking that freedom was a destination. And about a year ago, I really started tuning my awareness into understanding what is required to have more freedom. And this is part of the work that I do is once you realize that everything that you need or want is available to you, and you just have to basically set the intention and allow that to flow in, the answers start coming pretty quick. And over the course of the last year, I've been experiencing more freedom than I've ever experienced in my whole entire life. And I thought that freedom was like financial freedom, time freedom. But then what was shown to me is that I could have freedom despite not essentially having those outward accolades, the 10 million bucks in the bank, the being able to just have passive income, which, is the myth as well. But recognizing that the freedom comes from within. And so you can have freedom working a 9 to 5. You can have freedom before you have an unlimited amount of money in the bank account. And it's all about recognizing why you don't have freedom right now. And that is basically what I set out to begin undoing. It was like, if I'm not free, well, why is it? Well, it's because I have to work in order to make a certain amount of money so I can pay my bills. So now I'm not free because I'm constrained by this job. And this idea of freedom isn't about some sort of half-ass approach. I don't like having freedom but living out of a van. That's not my type of freedom. My freedom will come from being in a place of comfortability, not sacrificing anything. I think that's the key. And then really, truly feeling free from within. And I'm actually recording this podcast from Florida. And so one of the reasons that the video quality is going to look different is because I'm setting it all up on my own. And the thing is that I take a month off every single year and I come to Florida with my family. And that is freedom. I am able to step out of the needing to work hard in order to get to some destination, right? Because most people that are really head down and driven would be like, I can never take a month off because I have all these goals that I need to achieve. And so I think people would look down upon, especially people in the driven world, they would look down upon really taking some time off because they are so focused on going after a goal, right? It's I can't take a break. I got fucking things to do. And that's where I was stuck. I was waking up at 5 a.m, doing lots of planning, trying to work long hours. Back in my bar business days, I was working, probably 12, 15-hour days, from pretty much, first thing in the morning, getting product all the way until 2, 3 in the morning. And there was like zero freedom in that. I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck. They think they're going to have freedom when they become an entrepreneur, but you end up working like twice as hard as you did for somebody else. And so you have even less freedom. And so I wanted to make this podcast about uncovering what is required to have true freedom within. And I'm just going to go through a few things that I think will help you unlock this internal freedom. And I think the key for this, the reason that I want you to keep listening, is because in order to achieve anything in life, you have to first feel it before you can achieve it, right? And so everyone kind of has it backwards. They think that they have to go get something and then they're going to feel it. So freedom is a perfect example. They think they need to get to some certain level of income and then they are going to feel free, right? But there is nothing out there that is going to make anybody feel a certain type of way. Everything comes from within, right? And so if you're trying to get freedom out there, then that means you're not free from within. And so if you start solving for why you're not free from within, then what you're going to be able to do is begin feeling free. And then that's when freedom, in the sense that you had thought in the before, maybe it was financial freedom, time freedom, will show up in your life. And I've experienced this over and over again in my life. And the big one for me was with money. I thought that I needed to grind and hustle and work hard to get money because it would make me happy. But once I wasn't even aware of it, I was unconsciously solving for happy, and I became happy even before I had the money, then the money came in, right? And now I did this exact same process with freedom. It was like, I wanted more freedom, and so I started asking, well, why am I not free? And the obvious answer is because I don't have the said goal that's going to make me free. I don't have the passive income. I don't have the 10 million bucks in the bank. I don't have the job that allows me to have freedom, right? And that is not the answer. The answer doesn't exist out there. So I started asking, well, why don't I have freedom right now, right? And so what we're going to do in this podcast is we're going to pick apart why I didn't have freedom, which is going to help you move towards more freedom as well. So let's get into the first point. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to identify what it is that you think is going to get you freedom, right? And so it's like, let's just say it's like $10 million, like, because that's kind of like what I always had believed. It was like, once I have 10 million bucks in the bank, I could just live off the interest and, make, 10%, make $1 million a year kind of thing, right? Okay, that would be freedom. If you're making $1 million a year, you don't have to do anything, right? And so what I basically recognized was that I was trapped in the chase of money, and that's why I didn't have freedom, which is hilarious because it's like we are trying to get freedom by chasing money, but the chase of the money is the thing that is stealing our freedom, right? And so what we want to look at is, well, why are we chasing, right? And the answer is not freedom. We're chasing for some sort of reason. We've developed some sort of belief system. We've basically bought into the idea that this is what you're supposed to do in order to make money. And I think the one thing that I really want to point out here is that people think that if they eliminate, like let's say, for example, the chase, if you eliminate the chase or the desire or the want of $10 million, $1 billion, whatever it is, that you are not going to get it. But actually the reverse is true. That chase, that wanting is a form of resisting that thing flowing into your life. Because if you're trapped in wanting, what you're saying is, I don't have that right now, right? It's like, I am not good enough as I am. And so now I need to go out there and get this thing to make me feel good enough, or to make me feel complete or whole or free, or whatever it is that you want to put in there. And so if we start to uncover what it is that we're trying to feel, and we uncover why we're in the chase, and we are willing to do the work to let go of that chase, then that thing will come flowing into our life and it'll be effortless and it'll be easy, right? And so if we ask ourselves, what is it that we're trying to achieve to have freedom? And most people are going to say financial freedom, right? So if we look at money, we're going to ask, why is it that we need money? And let's move beyond the answer of because we want freedom. Because freedom doesn't exist out there. We know that. So it's like, how are you going to feel when you make money? And I know the answer keeps coming up, I'm going to feel free. But if we move beyond, well, why do you want to feel free, right? And then the answer might be something like, because I felt controlled my whole entire life. My family didn't have enough, and I never want to feel that pain ever again. I never want to feel like I don't have enough. I want to prove to the world that I could do it. Okay, so now as we start to uncover this, we're getting to like the nitty gritty. And so whatever it is that the chase is helping you avoid, that's what we need to solve for. So for me, it's like the freedom that I was looking for was helping me to feel like I don't have to do anything. And so then I just started saying, well, why do I feel like I have to do this? And so this is when the door really opened up for me. And the reason I thought I had to do this thing was beyond just because the have to would lead to freedom. It was because of like societal programs that I had taken on. Like, I have to be a hard worker, right? And this all came flooding into me one day when I was at the boatyard and actually at the marina, and I was there hanging out with my buddy and sailing, and I was at this point in my life where I had, let's call it, freedom from the outside looking in, even though I wasn't feeling free from within. And I was hanging out with my buddy, and this doctor came that sails with us, and he came up to me and he said, "Don't you ever work?" Right? And it was like kind of said jokingly, but then when I reflected on it, what I recognized was that it was envy that he was feeling. Here's this guy that spent all of this time in school, and he was still working at the hospital long hours. He didn't have what I had. And so there was a recognition in me that we are all grinding and hustling because we're getting some sort of payoff out of that. We're getting the pat on the back from society of being like, you're a hard worker. You deserve to be rich. You deserve to be free because you put in all of this time and effort, right? And this guy is like, you know, probably close to 60 years old, and he is still chasing freedom, right? Even after he did all of the work and he put all the time and effort, he still doesn't have it. And I was like, 25 years younger than him, and he is envious of my position. And so I started reflecting on that and go, oh, well, what's going on inside of me here? And what I would recognize was when he said that to me, I actually was like, oh, maybe I should start working harder. If the doctor is telling me that I'm not working hard enough, then maybe I should start doing more work. But then I'm like, oh no, I have what he wants, right? And so then I started leaning into, oh, okay, I have what he wants. Maybe I can just have more of that. Maybe I could stop buying into the societal pressures of needing to work hard, needing to grind, needing to hustle, so that I could feel deserving of the wealth that eventually would flow in because of that hard work. Maybe I could just take my foot off the gas a little bit and be okay in not constantly pushing. And so as I began to do that, things started shifting. I stopped like jumping out of bed and being like, oh, I need to get to work immediately. And it's like, no, this morning was a perfect example. I got out of bed, I'm here in Florida, I played with my kids for a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym now. And so it wasn't this like urgency that I have to get moving. And so because of that, I take this step back. And so the noise of the mind is the thing that disconnects us from the present moment, right? And so why is it important to be connected to the present moment? And this is what Joe Dispenza says. He says, in the present moment, the unknown is revealed to us. But if our mind is flooded with noise about trying to get to some sort of destination so that we can have freedom, we will never experience the connectedness, the creativeness that comes when we plug into the present moment. And so as I began undoing these programs, one of the programs is you need to work hard to make money. And so as I started undoing that program, what happened was my mind began to quiet. And as my mind began to quiet, I started plugging into this infinite intelligence. This is what Joe Dispenza is talking about. And so as I plugged into infinite intelligence, more ideas came flooding in. And it's part of the reason I take this month-long kind of time off, even though I'm still working, creating podcasts, I'm taking client calls, managing my company. In this month off, I get connected to that present moment that begins to create a flood of new ideas. I will come up with more ideas in this month than I will over the course of the entire year when I'm trapped in the noise. Now, the good news for me is I'm starting to lower that noise even in my regular other 11 months when I'm in the working mode, right? And so the more I lower that noise, the more I get connected. The more I get connected, the more creative I become. The more creative I become, the more money I make, right? And so if we can begin to undo what's happening inside of us, needing to prove the deservingness, the belief of you have to work hard to get there, the payoff of the pats on the back that we get from people saying, you're working so hard, you're grinding, you're hustling. If we can remove ourselves from all of that, we are going to get plugged in. And when we get plugged in, we get we get to move into a state of flow. And so the chase, the destination, the beliefs and the programs, they all pull us out of that flow. And so what we want to do is we want to start unpacking every single one of those so that we can move into this state of flow where everything becomes effortless and easy. And then when it becomes effortless and easy, we have to be okay there. Right? And so this is something that I experienced. It was when I was in a really nice flow and I had my other company and I had just sold it. I'm like, holy cow, like everything is just unfolding for me. I felt like I wasn't even doing any work and I was making more money than I had ever made. Right? And I was like, what is happening here? And what I ended up doing was I kind of sabotaged. I ended up taking all of that income that I was making and I invested into another company to put me back into the state of struggle, right? Because in my struggle, that's where I felt deserving, right? And so what I did was I started unpacking, well, why don't I feel undeserving? Right? And then I could start listing those moments throughout my life where I did bad things, where I wasn't kind, I wasn't compassionate, I wronged people, I cheated, I stealed, or whatever it may be. All of those moments in my life that I was still holding on to shame and guilt about, I started healing from them. Right? I started being okay in them. I started saying them out loud to people where I would never ever talk about these situations in my life because I was too shameful of them. But then I became okay. And when you become okay in them, they just start coming out of your mouth. And so now I didn't need the payoff of grinding and hustling anymore in order to feel like I was deserving. I felt deserving from within, right? This allowed me to take my foot off the gas. This lowered the noise of the mind and got me connected to the present moment. And this is how we experience internal freedom from within. It's by eliminating what the mind is telling us on a regular basis, by getting to the root of why we need freedom in the first place. So to wrap this whole entire thing up, is to recognize that it's never about what's going on out there. It's always about what's going on from within. Nothing can be solved by adding, is really what I really truly believe. We are not going to go get freedom. Like whatever the number is, whatever the thing is that you think you're going to achieve that's going to bring you freedom, I'm here to tell you that it's not. And what I would like to do for you is have you feel free right now. If you can imagine you could feel free right now, right? Then the state of freedom wouldn't be something that you have to go get. It would already be available to you. And all of those things that you thought were going to bring you freedom were going to naturally come because you have become the state that you were trying to achieve by getting that thing out there. So of course, if you are that state, naturally that thing that you want, let's say it's money, will come flowing into your life. Okay, so this is like the big aha about this thing. You kind of essentially align your energy, your beliefs, your frequency, if you want to call it that, to being free now. Naturally, the thing that you once thought would make you free will come flowing into your life. Okay? And so to understand that if we solve for freedom now, it's going to get us everything that we ever wanted. Okay? So the second thing is like, well, what are the programs in the belief system that we've bought into? Like hardworking, waking up at 5 in the morning, even just the urgency of like the entrepreneur is like springs out of bed and like the list downloads into his brain of all of the things that he has to do, and he feels like he never actually catches up, and he wakes up like that every single day. That's what I've removed myself from, and that's why I feel free. Right? And so the more I undid all of those past experiences, the more that to-do list stopped downloading in my mind, the more I got connected. The third thing that's going to happen is as you do this, you're going to get connected to creativity. You're going to end up making more money and achieving more than you ever thought was possible because you feel the way that you need to feel from within. The fourth thing that you need to do is you need to start asking, what beliefs and programs have you bought into, right? What payoffs are you getting from remaining in the grind and the hustle and the chase? If you start to identify those, just by looking at them, you are going to begin shifting. Actually, just by listening to this podcast, you've already made a shift. You've already recognized that you're chasing something out there in order to prove or to feel something from within. And if you begin solving for why you don't have that now, as a natural consequence, you will become more free. And this is what I know for certainty, just to say it one more time. You have to feel it before you achieve it. Once you become the state, everything that you once wanted to go and get will come flowing into your life. And this is the joy and the beauty of spiritual growth, is we can have anything that we want right now. There's nothing to go and get. And when you no longer have to go and get anything, that's when it comes flowing into your life, and it becomes flowing into your life effortlessly and easily. And that will be the next step, which would be to be able to be okay in how easy it all comes into your life. On part 2 of this, we're going to talk about faith and abundance, and we're going to learn how to tap into that infinite intelligence, that universal principle of abundance, and how to move out of all stress. And this isn't faith like religious faith. This is about an understanding that everything that you need will be provided to you, and that no matter what happens, you will be okay. So this is going to be a real powerful one as well. And this is the 5 steps that I think are required to live the good life without having to go get anything. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got any value from this whatsoever, I kindly ask that you just hit like and subscribe so you train the algorithm to see more stuff just like this. And also, it helps the show, it helps the production value. I'll be able to have better guests and put out more content that will help people move up the scale of consciousness. So thanks for taking the time to listen.